All right, so I'm reading this article on midterms and how the policies in the Middle East and the economy is going to impact how Republicans and Democrats are going to be doing in November, as this is a midterm year. And overall, in this situation where the Republican Party is in power in the White House, Democrats have a lead in terms of their favorability, I believe, by 5 points. And so obviously it looks better for the Democratic Party. And if you just every seat in the House is up for grabs. So projections probably will show that Democrats will retake the House. However, since only a third of seats are up for grabs in the Senate, a lot of those are actually safely Republican seats. So Republicans have a shot at keeping the Senate. Not to mention that JD Vance is the vice president, which would break a tiebreaker in the case of a 50-50 split in the Senate. So it's not entirely bad for the Republican Party in the case of the Senate. But the House is that's probably something that they may lose. Now, you can just look at a bunch of different states in the primaries and the voter turnout, and you can sort of tell the direction and what's to come for the midterms. If you look at, for example, if you look at a state like Texas, for example, now Texas is a Republican state. They haven't had a Democrat win a statewide race in quite some time. But in this recent March primary that was held in Texas, um, Democrats saw higher turnout than Republicans did. In fact, Republicans turnout actually dropped, I think, by like 4 or 5%. But Democrats turnout, I think, about a lot more than Republicans did. And in the counties that are majority Latino, their turnout in the Democratic primary actually tremendously increased this time around. Um, and even in the safe Republican states like Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's obviously not in Congress anymore. They had a special election for her, I think in March or whatever. And Marjorie Taylor Greene won hers by nearly 30 points. And her replacement only won it by 12 points. So we can see that the Iran war, Trump's handling of the economy, and his handling of other issues has been affecting other Republican and other local and smaller races around the country. So by the time the midterms come around, we shouldn't be shell shocked to see Republicans completely underperform. Comparable to 2 years ago when they sweep both chambers of houses and then of course the presidency. Younger voters, in particular, aren't going to be don't seem to be turning out like they did 2 years ago. Could be because of the war, could be because of the economy, could be because of a lot of things, low voter enthusiasm, but that seems to be happening. And then we also can look at Wisconsin. There was a liberal judge that won with about 60% of the vote. His name was Chris Taylor, and he was elected to the Supreme Court with 60% of the vote. We have to keep in mind Donald Trump won Wisconsin early in 2024. He also won it in 16 when he won the presidency as well. So to win by that type of margin is a good indication that Republicans need to figure something out if they're going to want to have a chance of keeping the House at least this election. It's not entirely bad for Republicans. As you can see in this little paragraph, 2006 and 2018, both times where the president was in power. And at that time, Democrats had an 18-point lead in 2006 under Bush and a 12-point lead last time Trump was president. This time, according to polls, they only have a 5-point lead, which is not as big as you would expect. So that's not entirely bad for Republican. I would think that this is because of the way the Biden presidency went. I think some people still remember that, but so it's not entirely bad for the Republican Party. But overall, if you look at um, these smaller primary elections, special elections, they're trending well in the Democratic way. Even with redistricting and gerrymandering and all that stuff that's going on. I know Virginia and Florida, um, their legislators have tried to redraw and try and pass new districts that would favor. In Virginia, it would favor the Democrats. In Florida, it would favor the Republicans. So there's that going on, but overall, really shouldn't have too much of an effect because usually the opposing president loses in midterms most of the time, and in this case, that seems to be the case. So yeah, it's just very interesting information.